When you hear the signature tune, you know it's time to be informed of what's happening here in Somaliland, East Africa, and around the globe. CBA News starts right now. President Musa Bihi retaliates his government's rejection of President Farmajo's negotiation committee. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki is in Mogadishu. Somalia security forces kill 3 Al-Shabaab suspects. Welcome again. My name is Felix Aloice Rajwai. We start off with the news here in Somaliland, where President Musa Bihi Abdi retaliates his government's rejections of the committee appointed by the President of the Federal Government of Somalia to the talks with Somaliland. He said it is unlikely that the talks between the two sides will bear fruits with Farmajo in his office.
President Musa Bihi was welcoming the international participants of Hargeisa International Book Fair at a gala in the presidential palace on Friday night. But the tension with Somalia took up the bulk of his speech. He doubled down on his government's rejection of Somalia's Committee of Reconciliation and talks with Somaliland. The president took an issue with the mandate of the committee according to the appointment decree, which says is to find a sustainable solution to the grievances of Somaliland within the framework of the federal system of Somalia.
Before a committee is appointed, it is important to look at this task. The task of this committee is to fall neither of which concerns Somaliland, and since it does not concern Somaliland, we will abstain from interfering in their internal affairs.
President Bihi accused Somalia of waging economic war on Somaliland by targeting livestock exports during the Hajj season. He said that Somalia's president has shown Somaliland unprecedented enmity since he came to office.
Somaliland has met from President Abdullahi Mohammed the most enmity and hostility since Somaliland and Somalia parted ways 28 years ago. President Farmajo showed Somaliland unprecedented and constant hostility since those 28 years ago. He showed us relentless hostility on all fronts, be it interference in our internal affairs, military, economic, and propaganda.
With that, President Bihi ruled out the possibility of any breakthrough in Somaliland-Somalia talks during the term of Farmajo in office.
That's a well-detailed report from Abdullahi Hassan. And now, still in Somaliland, the Vice President Abdurrahman Seili, who was speaking at Hargeisa Cultural Center, has emphasized that unity between Somaliland and Somalia is not possible at all in this time. Our reporter Hamze gives us the details.
The Vice President said Somaliland is ready to work with the international community to get rid of any group or individuals who can harm human rights and involve in criminal activities like piracy and terrorism. The Vice President pointed out that Somalia has divided itself and the federal government of Somalia should focus on reuniting its member states instead of looking for unity between Somaliland and Somalia.
Everyone knows about Somalia, including the international community, that Somalia is a country that we cannot unite with, because it has divided itself in too many administrations that even their rulers cannot go beyond the capital city.
On the other side, the European Union ambassador to Somalia, together with the Somaliland Interior Minister Mohammed Kahin, talked to the media, though the ambassador ignored to answer to some questions directly. But CBA insisted on to know how does European Union ambassador to Somalia Nicholas Pelanga seems that Somaliland denounced the recent committee members appointed by Somalia's president for the talks with Somaliland.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Hamza from CBA. Somalia president appointed a new committee for talks with Somaliland. Somaliland also has denounced it. How does that EU seems?
You know, I'm sure that you know the motto of one very big telephone company, which has the motto of connecting people. So we are always in favor of solving differences by dialogue. We are always in favor of not overreacting publicly about issues that may create and divide the societies. We are always in favor of being behind your national and regional efforts to facilitate then and again to talk and solve the differences by dialogue and debate.
It was recently when Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo appointed 6 committee members for the talks with Somaliland, though Somaliland denounced it after they have seen in the list for some members who are originally from Somaliland.
Hamza Dabcheri, CBA, Hargeisa.
Now, let me get you back to the first story that we ran about Somaliland president criticizing about the committee. Now, the Puntland state of Somalia has joined Somaliland in opposing the committee recently appointed by the president Farmajo in talks with Somaliland. However, Puntland reasons are completely different. Our reporter Abdullahi tells us about it.
Puntland opposes the committee on the grounds that it is excluded from its membership. She argued that since Puntland has a stake in the talks with Somaliland, it should have been included. In a statement on Friday, Puntland government said that the constitution permits her to be part of any talks with Somaliland. Puntland said that the appointment of the committee testifies to unwillingness to reach a sustainable solution to the Somaliland issue. Somaliland government has earlier rejected the committee appointed by President Farmajo for including Somaliland nationalists in its membership.
Now to other news. After the opposition political parties have demanded the increase of electoral members from 7 to 9, Somaliland President Musa Bihi has insisted that the number of electoral commission members should not be increased before the upcoming election.
Somaliland president has once again confirmed that he insists his decision to not be increasing the number of the current electoral commission members before the upcoming parliamentary and local council elections. The other political parties have agreed the number of the electoral commission to add on 2 new members. But the president said if the political parties do not come up with compromise, the House of Elders may extend the date of the election. Once again, Musa Bihi also emphasized that it is not possible to amend the elections law in favor of the 2 expected members in the Electoral Commission, and he appealed from the political parties the election to happen without adding or removing the Electoral Commission members.
Now let's land in Mogadishu, Somalia. A high-level committee of African Union led by the former South African President Thabo Mbeki arrived at Aden Ade International Airport in Mogadishu on Saturday.
The UN Secretary-General Special Representative for Somalia, James Swan, was accompanied to Baidoa by senior officials from the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Organization for Migration, and UNMAS. Swan said in a joint media encounter in the state's capital Baidoa that there is a need for good relations between federal member states like Southwest State and the federal government. He added that it is absolutely vital for delivering services and good governance to the Somali people. He assured the people of Southwest State that the United Nations family is striving to respond to the needs of Southwest people so that they can have a real positive impact in addressing the multiple challenges the state faces. His remarks followed meetings with Southwest State President Abdiaziz Hassan Mohammed, known as Laughter Green, and members of his cabinet. Addressing journalists in the same media encounter, President Laughter Green said their discussion focused on security, humanitarian assistance, and the political situation in the region. While in Baidoa, the UN envoy also saw firsthand some of the demining training provided by the UN Mine Action Service to AMISOM troops based in Southwest State and met with senior AMISOM officials and members of the United Kingdom Somali National Army support team. Mr. Swan has been visiting Somalia's federal member states since taking up his post in late June.
Still in Mogadishu, 3 Al-Shabaab suspects were on Friday killed in an operation carried out by the Somalia security forces outside Baidoa town. Our reporter Mohammed Budbul, who is in Mogadishu, tells us more.
Somali security forces killed at least 3 suspected Al-Shabaab militants in an operation outside Baidoa town on Friday night. According to locals, the forces launched an operation to hunt down Al-Shabaab operatives in Mado village near Audin town of Bai region. In a gunfire exchange with Al-Shabaab members, the forces killed 3 of them. The forces also managed to capture 1 of them. Security agencies said the militants were thought to have been planning to carry out attacks in the area. The development comes a day after the Somali cabinet discussed on ways to step up security operations to liberate areas controlled by Al-Shabaab fighters in central and south of Somalia. The country's defense ministry has pledged to implement military plans to defeat the group. Recently, the Somali military, backed by the African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, increased offensives against Al-Shabaab militants. Al-Shabaab, which once controlled a large swath of southern Somalia, was forced out of many major towns in south and central, including the capital city. The group now operates in remote areas but tries to launch deadly attacks in major towns in Somalia. Last week, 4 heavily armed men had stormed into a hotel in Kismaya town where they killed over 30 people, including Jubaland presidential candidate. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the heinous attack, which took several hours before Somali security forces secured the building. Mohammed Ibrahim Bulbul, reporting for CBA, Mogadishu.
Thank you, Bulbul, for that report. The new United Nations envoy to Somalia visited the southwest state for the first time ever since taking office. He emphasized the importance of good relations between the federal member states and the federal government. Our reporter Wangoi still give us the details.
Former South African President Thabo Mbeki and his delegation were received by Somalia's Foreign Minister, Ambassador Ahmed Isse Awad. The main reason for the visit was not disclosed, but he is expected to hold talks with President Farmajo and the top leaders of the federal government of Somalia. The visit will take 2 days, and the delegation will also hold several consultative meetings with Somali civil society, IGAD, AMISOM and UNSOM.
The African Union mission to Somalia, AMISOM, has lauded Ugandan troops for their contribution to peace and stability in Somalia. The soldiers belonging to Uganda People's Defense Forces, UPDF, Battle Group of 25 were awarded medals and certificates for their peacekeeping role in the Horn of Africa nation.
Francisco Madeira, the special representative of the chairperson of the African Union Commission for Somalia and head of AMISOM, commended the battle group for promoting dialogue and reconciliation among communities residing in its area of operation. During the ceremony, Madeira said that the African Union is in Somalia not for any other purpose other than helping to liberate this country from the scourge of a ruthless and destructive Al-Shabaab. The Ugandan contingent operated in El Jale, Bufo, Maka, Shalnabot, Korale and Mashale, among other areas in Somalia's southwest state. Paul Muhanguzi, the commander of UPDF Battle Group 25, lauded the AMISOM leadership for their guidance and support, which he said enabled the contingent to achieve its mandate. Muhanguzi said that Battle Group 25 supported the Somali National Army in capturing Maka, which is the second largest city in the region. The 25th Battalion has also supported and nurtured the local forces who were later recruited into the ranks of the Somali National Intelligence and Security Agency Force.
An explosion at a gas plant in central China has killed at least 10 people and 19 others seriously injured, and 5 others are missing, the authorities said on Saturday. The explosion on Friday evening in the city of Yima in Henan province sent a ball of fire and thick plumes of smoke into the air, according to local state media. The fire charred the factory building, leaving only the frame, the account said. As the fire spread, nearby houses collapsed and windows were shattered as far as 2 miles away. The explosion occurred in the air separation unit of a factory owned by a Henan Coal Gas. According to Xinhua, the state-run news agency, no explanation was given for the explosion. Several large explosions have occurred at the chemical plants in China in recent years. The central government has ordered improvements in safety at factories, power plants and mines, where regulation is often lax and management of explosive materials often emphasized. In 2015, 173 people were killed, most of them emergency workers, in the explosion at a chemical warehouse in the port of city of Tianjin, and safe storage of volatile materials was a cause of the blast. For CBA News, I'm Felix Aloice Rajwai. And now the end of AFCON is really revealed. Baghdad Body Jazz shot took a huge deflection off Salif Sen and looped over goalkeeper Alfred Gomez. Senegal, who have never won the competition, were awarded a penalty for handball in the second half, but it was overturned after a VAR review. Algeria closed out the rest of the game to win their first title since 1990. Senegal, making only their second appearance in the final since 2002, dominated the large periods but struggled to make the most of their possession. Mbaye Niang was at the center of two of their best chances as his flashed a fierce drive over the bar just before the break and rounded keeper Rais Mboli early in the second half, only to shoot wide from a tight angle. Mboli also did well in palm over a string of efforts from Youssouf Sabali. The defensive moments for Senegal was at the reverse of the decision to award a penalty on the hour mark. Firecrackers lit up the night sky and cries of joy filled the air in Algiers as soon as the final whistle blew in Cairo International Stadium, with jubilant crowds, many of them trapped in Algerian flags, taking to the streets of the capital to celebrate the 1-0 victory over Senegal. Many said they are proud of the Desert Warriors, who appeared as a combative squad playing with an abundance of heart, effort and solidarity. For CBA News, I'm Felix Aloice Rajwai. Congratulations to Algeria, and that's how we wrap up our CBA News Bulletin here at CBA TV. My name is Felix Aloice Rajwai, and on behalf of all who have made it possible, we say Mad Sanev.